They arrived expecting conquest. An empire forged across 47 star systems, armed with weapons that melted steel and armor that turned bullets into dust. Earth was supposed to be their easiest victory. But when the invaders touched the ground, the battlefield never erupted. No screams, no explosions, no glory. Humanity didn't kill them. Earth did. As the elite warriors of the Krell Empire struggled to breathe beneath the sky they intended to claim, the world's militaries watched in stunned silence. A species built to dominate others found itself defeated by a force older than any civilization. Not by a missile, not by an army, by gravity. And as humanity stood over its fallen enemy, the real war began, not for survival, but for what kind of species we would choose to become. Colonel Marcus Webb leaned over the reinforced glass of the Peterson Space Force Base observation deck, his jaw tight as streaks of flame burned across the dawn sky. What most civilians mistook for meteors were, in truth, the first wave of the Krell invasion force. Armored dropships entering the atmosphere with precision only possible from a civilization thousands of years ahead of humanity. For 90 days, the world had held its breath. World governments had collapsed into unified command under a single banner for the first time in history. Not the United Nations, but the Earth Defense Coalition. Satellites recorded fleets the size of islands drifting just beyond the moon. The Krell Empire had given a simple ultimatum: surrender the planet, assimilate into the Empire. Resistance is extinction. Webb had seen that message too many times. Conquered civilizations, stripped and broken, broadcast warnings on encrypted channels. The Empire didn't negotiate. It expanded. Lieutenant Jessica Martinez stood to his right, her eyes locked onto the landing telemetry scrolling down the hollow display. Colonel, they're dispersing their pods. Estimated troop deployment, 10,000. Colorado Plains, near grid, Sierra 9. They're committing their vanguard. Their shock battalions. The Krell didn't believe humans earned a full invasion force. According to intercepted transmissions, humanity was a Category 3 primitive culture. Barely industrial, violently fractured, and not worth a large expenditure of resources. Arrogant, Webb thought. But arrogance didn't matter when your enemy had plasma weapons capable of vaporizing a tank. Sir, Martinez said, almost whispering, the reports about their soldiers, are they true? Webb nodded. Intelligence had confirmed that Krell warriors stood nearly 3 meters tall, bone sheathed in metallic cartilage, and armed with exoskeletal plates stronger than the hull armor on Earth's warships. Their bodies were engineered through generations of conquest. Their strength measured in hundreds of kilos of force per limb. Humanity, by comparison, was tiny, weak, unmodified, disposable. Webb watched the pod slam into the plains, throwing up clouds of dust and flame in perfect formation. They'll walk through us, he muttered, unless we hit them first. Martinez swallowed. Should we launch the first strike orders? Her voice shook, not out of fear, but because she knew what it meant to fire on an enemy before they even stood up. Webb had wrestled with that decision for hours before dawn. Knowing history would damn the person who gave the order, or damn the planet if they didn't. He opened his mouth to respond, but an alert interrupted him. A comms officer raised his headset. Sir, something's wrong. We're receiving unusual readings at the landing sites. Webb frowned. Clarify. Movement irregularities. Troop mobilization is delayed. Delayed? Webb repeated, approaching the holomap. Show me. The officer pulled live reconnaissance feeds onto the command wall. The first video showed Krell soldiers disembarking. Their armor gleamed like obsidian, weapons affixed with multi-barrel plasma conduits. But something was off. They were slow. Their towering bodies staggered as if the ground pulled at them. Webb assumed they were adjusting to atmospheric pressure or temperature. That was normal. But then one fell. Then another. Then 10. Armored titans collapsed face first into the dirt. Martinez stared. Is this some kind of tactical deception? Webb leaned closer. He saw claws digging into soil, immense muscles trembling as they struggled to push themselves up. Their chests heaved as if drowning in invisible water. A second feed showed the same. A third. Kansas, Nevada, Utah, all landing zones. 10,000 of the galaxy's most feared warriors were failing to stand. What in hell is happening? Martinez whispered. Webb didn't answer. His heart pounded in disbelief. The Krell's armor clattered as they writhed, gasped, and collapsed again. Their translator devices, built to intimidate conquered species, broadcast or struggle across open channels. Pressure increased, cannot move. Air heavy. Way too much. The realization hit Webb like cold steel. They're not built for this. Are they overweight? Martinez asked, confused by her own words. Webb stared at snow-capped mountains stretching across the horizon. Earth, the planet they came to conquer. A world they thought was easy prey. No, Webb murmured. They're being crushed. He exhaled slowly, shocked by the simplicity. It's gravity. The command center at Peterson Space Force Base was built to withstand missile strikes and cyber attacks. But everyone inside felt something greater than warfare now. Ignorance. Humanity, armed with every weapon it could manufacture, stood victorious after firing nothing. No missiles, no drones, no artillery. The war had begun with shockwaves from alien ships and then silence. The Krell warriors continued collapsing by the thousands. Most lay on their backs, armor plates scraping against dry soil as they attempted to lift their massive limbs. Others tried crawling, leaving gouges in the earth as if dragged down by chains. Every attempt to stand looked painful. Their chests convulsed as though their organs fought against a pressure the planets they conquered had never offered. Humanity had expected plasma barges and city-wide devastation. Instead, it received a battle no human could take credit for. No heroism, no resistance, just physics. Webb didn't move from the screen. He stared like a soldier who had been preparing for a storm only to be met by sunlight. Sir, Lieutenant Martinez muttered, this doesn't make sense. How could an interstellar empire not account for our gravity? They scanned our oceans, our air, our surface composition, Webb replied. They didn't scan us. The comms officer turned, pale. Should we relay that to the rest of the coalition governments? Yes, Webb said, gesturing to transmit the footage. Let the world see exactly what's happening. No editing, no propaganda. Within minutes, streams broadcast globally. The world watched through screens, smart glasses, and government feeds. Nations expected incoming bombardment, orbital strikes, something. Instead, they saw towering invaders gasping like fish out of water, their own bodies suffocating them. Global broadcast reaction. In Tokyo, office workers halted their morning commute, staring open-mouthed at sidewalk projections as elites of the most feared empire in the galaxy writhed helplessly. Cameras captured murmurs in dozens of languages. They look sick. Is this real? Is it a trap? In Lagos, people cheered prematurely. Across Europe, analysts dissected the footage live, throwing up numbers and hypotheses without data. In New York, crowds gathered outside the EDC buildings demanding clarification. In China, a scientist went viral after stating the obvious. The Krell are apex predators on worlds that are weak. Reporters sprinted across newsrooms. Headlines screamed. Invaders collapsed. Earth wins with 0 casualties. Aliens crushed by our planet? Some feared retaliation. Some laughed. Others prayed. Humanity watched its enemies suffer, and for the first time in recorded history, felt uncertain about winning. Entered Dr. Robert Armitage. The base doors opened, revealing a man walking at an impatient pace. White-haired, disheveled, eyes bright with scientific hunger. He wore an MIT Gravity research badge and carried enough equipment to outfit a lab. "Colonel Webb," he called out, not waiting for an introduction. "I'm Dr. Robert Armitage, theoretical astrophysics. I was summoned when the Krell fleet entered orbit. You have no idea how exciting this is." "This is warfare, Doctor," Webb said, irritated. "Not a discovery conference." Armitage shook his head. "It's both. You don't realize what's happening out there. The Krell physiology isn't just mismatched to Earth. It's catastrophically incompatible." He projected graphs and biological scans captured by drones. Their bone scans revealed cross-sections resembling avian structures. Thin hollows reinforced by trace metallic compounds. Muscle mass appeared denser, but not structure for heavy lift. More damning was their circulatory structure. Their blood density is low, Armitage explained. Their hearts evolve on a world with weaker pull, likely around 0.5 to 0.6 times Earth's gravity. Their red biomass wouldn't circulate properly under our force. Meaning? Martinez asked. It means they're suffocating from inside. Their own organs are failing. Their blood can't pump fast enough to keep them conscious, let alone make them battle-ready. The heavier weight of their own bodies is slowing circulation and respiration simultaneously. And their armor? He gestured at the shimmering plates on the screens. That armor was designed to deflect plasma and kinetic weaponry. But here it's killing them. It's extra weight. They're being crushed by their own protection. Martinez's face softened, disturbed by the reality. So they're being crushed alive? Yes, Armitage confirmed. Gravity is pulling them apart from the inside. Why they miscalculated? Webb frowned. But they're advanced enough to build interstellar fleets. They should have known. They scanned Earth, Armitage replied. They studied its composition. But scans don't reveal how a species survives its environment. They assumed we were similar enough to other dominance-capable species they've conquered. After all, we breathe oxygen, use water, have carbon biochemistry, and binary locomotion. So they evaluated only what they believed mattered. He tapped the screen. They studied our technology, not our biology. Webb felt the irony hit harder than any battle. Our weakness is the reason we're strong, he muttered. We're adapted to a heavy world. Exactly, Armitage said. We survived evolution under a force that would break the Krell. They evolved perfection on easier worlds. He looked almost reverent. They conquered planets, but they never conquered gravity. A new threat. Martinez turned toward Webb. Sir, if they can't stand, they can't fight. What now? Do we take them prisoner? Do we attack them? They came to exterminate us, but they're dying already. Webb stared at the writhing silhouettes on the screens. Warriors, conquerors, invaders reduced to victims of physics. The science is clear, Armitage said. They don't belong on this world. But neither is dying instantly. Their technology could change everything we know, and their empire might send reinforcements. Webb exhaled slowly. The war's over, he said quietly. Now the real decisions begin. The Earth Defense Coalition Emergency Assembly convened in Geneva, Switzerland, in a room built to seat diplomats, not the fate of two species. Representatives from every major power sat behind transparent barrier screens, not for protection from each other, but from panic. The live feeds of the Krell invasion sites played above them on massive curved displays. Silence dominated the room. The aliens, still immobilized, looked less like conquerors and more like stranded beasts. Breathing raggedly, muscles spasming under a weight evolution had never prepared them for. The world had never faced victories so unsettling. At the center of the circular table sat Madame Linway, temporary leader of the coalition. Calm, composed, she spoke with the precision of someone who had lost her fear long before today. We must decide, she said. 10,000 Krell soldiers lie incapacitated on our soil. Their fleet waits beyond lunar orbit for direction. Our satellites detect no weapon charging, no bombardment protocols, no attempt to leave. They're waiting. Her voice sharpened. They believe these warriors will conquer us. They do not know they are already defeated. General Harrow of European Continental Defense slammed his fist quietly against his desk. Then we kill them before the fleet learns the truth, before they adapt, retaliate, or gather more forces. No, Dr. Emily Foster, renowned xenobiologist, spoke without waiting for permission. 10,000 alien bodies could teach us more than any crash craft ever has. We are staring at a window to another civilization's knowledge. We can't throw that away. Harrow glared. Knowledge doesn't outweigh risk. They came here to destroy us. We owe them nothing. They're not a threat anymore, Foster argued. Humanity has never had prisoners from another world. This is a new chapter for science, diplomacy, even ethics. We are more than animals defending territory. Are we not? The debate cracked open. Delegates whispered, murmured, took notes. Fear battling curiosity. The voices of vengeance. The African Union delegate, Commander Kofindauer, rose next. His expression betrayed a subtle pain, a heaviness beyond personal opinion. My continent has endured colonization. We know what it means for invaders to arrive with superior power and take what they wish. We know what happens when mercy is given to conquerors. He pointed to the feet of fallen Krell. Do not forget their intention. It wasn't peace. It wasn't coexistence. They came to remove us from our home, the way others once removed our ancestors from theirs. Several delegates nodded. His tone deepened. They would have shown us no mercy. Why should we show them any? The room absorbed every syllable. History was repeating itself, just on a cosmic scale. The argument for a different human history. Then, unexpectedly, a young voice broke the tension. The Brazilian representative, 28-year-old Sophia Rezende, stood. She held no military rank, no battles behind her, but there was a defiant wisdom in her words. Every empire that came to Earth believed in superiority, she said. Stronger weapons, stronger armies, better bloodlines. Every one of them thought they were entitled to conquer. She looked directly at Ndauer with respect, not defiance. Those who resisted, sometimes they won, sometimes they didn't. But the victors who built something better, instead of becoming the same evil they defeated, they changed the world. She pointed to the screens. These invaders didn't lose because we fought bravely. They lost because they misjudged a force we never invented, never controlled. Gravity won this war. Not us. Murmurs rose. She had touched something raw. We didn't choose victory. It happened, so we now choose what happens after. We can become a species that kills helpless enemies or a species that does something new. Fear versus opportunity. The room fractured into factions. Executionists, who saw killing the Krell as justice and self-preservation. Pragmatists, who wanted to weaponize alien technology and biology. Idealists, who believed the galaxy might judge humanity by this moment. But above all, everyone was afraid. Fear that the Krell fleet might retaliate if they sense weakness. Fear that mercy would be seen as cowardice. Fear that keeping them alive was inviting catastrophe. Dr. Foster raised her voice again. Would you provoke a civilization capable of crossing light years to avenge their fallen? Or would you demonstrate that humanity is not like them, not a galactic predator? Her tone softened. If we kill them, we tell the galaxy exactly what kind of species we are. A scared, violent one. General Harrow retorted. And if we don't, we gamble our future on mercy. No, Foster said. We gamble on control. Science gives us control. Knowledge gives us power. Corpses teach us nothing about their culture, their motivations, their technology, or their weakness. Alive, they're an opportunity. She paused. Dead, they're a threat waiting for retribution. The vote. Madame Linway stood, concluding the debate. We will vote, not as nations, but as one species. Humanity must decide today what we will become tomorrow. The decision required a global consensus. No country could act alone. Votes appeared on the holographic tally as every delegation pressed their choice. Execute, imprison, preserve and contain for study. The numbers flickered, painfully slow. Leaders watched with held breath. When the final number locked, option 3 won by a margin of 4%. Humanity had chosen preservation, not because it was moral, because it was strategic. The vote had been cast. Humanity chose to preserve and contain the Krell. But the decision did not bring peace, only pressure. Every government knew mercy could look like weakness, and weakness, in the shadow of an interstellar empire, could invite annihilation. Construction of containment structures began immediately. They rose across 3 sites worldwide, North America, Northern China, and the Pacific Austral region. But they were not prisons made of steel. They were facilities engineered to reduce Earth's crushing pull, rotating habitats mimicking low gravity, built using the alien materials scavenged from Krell dropships. Colonel Webb arrived at the Colorado site 2 days after the vote. The area had been transformed. What once was open plains now resembled a hybrid between a military base and a scientific ark. Engineers welded massive curved struts capable of rotation. Physicists calibrated artificial gravity rings. Xenobiologists studied ventilators capable of sustaining Krell respiration. Humanity was building sanctuaries for an enemy. Webb stepped through checkpoints guarded by soldiers gripping railguns. They had been instructed not to fire unless a Krell showed the ability to stand, but their eyes betrayed their nerves. A single Krell lying on a stretcher became Webb's focus. Its body was bound in reinforced restraints, not to stop it from fighting, but to keep its own weight from crushing its organs further. Its scales shimmered with a dull, dying luster. Thick veins pulsed weakly beneath its transparent underlayer. Its breathing sounded like metal grinding inside a furnace. Dr. Foster approached, tablet clutched against her chest. "He's one of their lieutenants," she whispered, identified through their insignia patterns. Webb studied the alien's eyes. They reflected exhaustion and fury. "You gonna help them?" Webb asked quietly. "I'm going to learn from them," she corrected. "If they survive, maybe they understand humanity differently. Maybe we understand the galaxy differently." Webb didn't argue. He didn't believe in mercy. He believed in leverage. The first contact. Security teams wheeled in a portable translation rig harvested from a Krell scout vehicle. Foster worked feverishly to connect it. The device resembled a cluster of polished obsidian shards with luminescent grooves pulsing in rhythmic cycles. It hummed at a frequency Webb felt in his bones. When it finally activated, the air vibrated. The Krell lieutenant's head jerked, eyes narrowing at the machine. Its jaw flexed, muscles trembling as it attempted to speak under the unbearable weight. A harsh, distorted voice erupted. "Where is war leader THXKL?" The translator crackled, struggling to handle the alien's strained words. Webb stepped forward. "He's alive. Your invasion failed." The alien turned his head painfully, its voice hollow, metallic, resentful. "Fail means combat not yet begun." Webb froze. It wasn't denial. It was doctrine. The Krell didn't believe they had lost until they had fought. But they couldn't fight. Dr. Foster inhaled sharply. "They don't know they can't." Before Webb could reply, the translator pulsed again, relaying another message, monotone, synthetic, not spoken by the alien on the stretcher. It was coming from orbit. Ground report request. Status of Terran subjugation. The lieutenant on the stretcher tried to respond, but its body failed. It could not lift its head. Breath rattled inside its chest like stones shaken in a jar. Webb realized the grotesque irony. If the Krell discovered the truth too soon, that their army was powerless, they might abandon their moral code against orbital annihilation. Humanity's mercy had just become its most dangerous secret. Foster whispered urgently, "We can't let them answer. Not yet." Webb cut the communication manually, overriding the transmitter. The alien on the stretcher roared weakly as if robbed of honor, its voice dissolving into pain. Security officers rushed in, pointing weapons. "Stand down," Webb ordered sharply. "It's not attacking. It's suffocating." The alien's fading cry echoed in the tense silence. It wasn't a warrior's roar. It was humiliation, trust in the shadow of extinction. Back at the command tent, a secure channel connected Webb to the coalition leadership. He briefed them quickly. "The Krell fleet is waiting for victory confirmation. If they learn their forces are helpless, they might abandon planetary conquest protocol." Madame Lin Wei's face appeared on screen, voice composed but strained. "You're saying mercy could trigger retaliation." "I'm saying honesty could," Webb corrected. Foster stepped into the frame. "We need time. Time to understand them. Time to acclimate a few Krell, to control low-gravity environments before communication." Harrow appeared next on screen, scowling. "You're playing scientist while fleet waits to kill us." "No," Foster replied, voice rising. "I'm trying to ensure they don't discover weakness before we understand how to negotiate from it." Lin Wei nodded slowly. "Colonel Webb, from this moment, communication with the Krell fleet is classified. No transmissions leave the atmosphere without approval." Webb's throat tightened at the implication. We will lie to them, he said. Correct, Wei answered. A controlled deception. Feed them static. Encryption failure. Whatever it takes. The weight of a lie. The transmission ended. The rotating habitation structures hummed in the distance, still incomplete. Soldiers stared uneasily at the helpless aliens they guarded. Scientists argued quietly about ethical lines blurring under emergency decisions. Webb stepped outside, wind cold against his stern face. Above him, the morning sky held a silent threat, a fleet waiting for news that would never come. A lie was now humanity's shield. Foster approached him, expression conflicted. You know, if one Krell recovers enough strength to speak, that lie collapses. Webb nodded. That's why we must help them survive, just enough to keep the truth under control. He looked toward the stars with grim resolve. Mercy won us this moment. Deception may be what keeps us alive. War leader Thex Cal was not supposed to feel fear. His genetic line stretched back through dozens of conquered worlds, each generation engineered to embody dominance. To a Krell commander, fear was not an emotion, it was a symptom of weakness. But as awareness returned to him, in a tightening blur of sound and light, fear arrived anyway. Not fear of the enemy, fear of weight. His chest felt as though a planet was pressing against it. Every breath rattled with effort. His limbs felt like iron slabs pinned beneath invisible chains. It was as if he had been encased in stone. His body, once a weapon capable of tearing apart steel plating, was nothing now. He could not stand. He could not fight. He could barely move. A low groan escaped him as he lifted his head a fraction of an inch before it crashed back against reinforced bedding. Pain spiked through him. The burn of suffocation inside his own body felt more humiliating than fatal. Thex Cal was a conqueror of worlds. Now he struggled against air. Observation. Thex Cal's vision sharpened, pupils adjusting to a dim, rotating ceiling. He realized he was inside a structure, partly artificial gravity, partly restraint. Translucent straps brace his ribs and abdomen, not to confine him, but to keep his organs from collapsing under Earth's pull. Across the room, figures watched through an armored window. Humans, fragile bipeds with soft skin and tiny eyes. He expected them to gloat, mock, provoke him. Instead, he saw uneasy curiosity, a hesitation that smelled not of weakness but calculation. One, female, with dark hair tied back, stepped into the room. She wore a coat with the markings of their science caste. Her stance held no fear, though her pulse quickened. Dr. Emily Foster. She activated a hover-mounted translation rig. Its crystalline facets hummed, bathing them both in pale green light. Thex Cal forced his vocal cords to vibrate. You dare restrain a war leader. His voice emerged fractured, filtered, distorted. Foster responded calmly. They're not restraints. They're supports. If we remove them, you die. He snarled, the sound almost pathetic through the translator. Better death than pity. Foster's jaw tightened. You weren't spared out of pity. We're trying to preserve what your people value. You're warriors. If you die helpless, your fleet made aside Earth isn't worth keeping intact. Thex Cal stared at her. His breathing slowed. She was right. Krell doctrine forbade planetary annihilation of intended conquests, but only if active battle was ongoing. If the ground forces were deemed unsalvageable, protocol changed. This was not mercy. It was strategy, the conqueror's assessment. Thex Cal scanned the room again. He saw his situation clearly. His troops could not fight. The humans were not killing them. The fleet did not know why. Human victory was accidental, but their restraint was intentional. He studied Foster with predatory curiosity. You fear our fleet. She didn't deny it. We fear what we don't understand. That's why you're alive. To be understood. He processed the words like data, not sentiment. You seek knowledge as tactics. Knowledge is tactics, she answered. The translator hummed, matching her tone. He recognized this type of thinking. It was Krell in its logic, but not in its morality. The Krell did not preserve enemies to learn from them. They conquered first, studied later. Humanity reversed the order. He found that dangerous. An offer of choice. Foster approached the edge of a support frame. We're building an environment where you and your soldiers can move without being crushed. You'll be able to stand, breathe, speak. Thex Cal felt a spike of anger. The idea of being saved, rehabilitated, made whole by the species he intended to eradicate. It pierced deep in the pain in his chest. You would have U.S. Heal. Under your watch? As prisoners. No, she replied. His eyes narrowed. Then as what? Foster hesitated. The word didn't come easily. Guess. Thexcal laughed, or tried to. The sound came out like grinding metal. Guests do not arrive with armies. No, Foster agreed. But neither do slaves send fleets to rescue them. A long silence filled the chamber. She had turned the ultimatum on its head. If humans killed the Krell, the Empire could retaliate without dishonor. But if humanity kept them alive and as dignified as possible, the Krell could not retaliate without shattering their own philosophy. This was not pity. This was leverage. A commander's decision. For the first time since landing on this hellish world, Thexcal understood the battlefield. Humanity had no intention of defeating the Krell in battle. They intended to defeat Krell ideology. He inhaled, painfully, resolutely. I will speak with your war council. Foster nodded, but not in triumph. In time, when you are able, he glared. I am able. She gestured to the supports holding his rib cage. You are not. Not yet, but we'll help you until you can stand before them as a leader, not a casualty. His pride twisted into something unfamiliar. Respect tinged with animosity. He gave a slow, grudging nod. The human had won this exchange, not through threat, through honor. A storm approaches. As Foster left the room, Webb watched through the observation glass. He spoke quietly to her. You realize we're building a stage for him to challenge us, not cooperate. That's the point, Foster replied. Warriors respect battles, not charity. If we want negotiation, he has to regain dignity. Webb frowned. And if he decides negotiation is dishonor? Foster looked back at the war leader, a titan crushed by Earth itself. Then let him stand first, she said. If he still wants war after that, we'll face him on equal ground. Above them, in orbit, the silent Krell fleet waited, and every moment of Earth's deceit made their patience thinner. Thexcal inhaled shakily. He would stand. He would fight, though perhaps not with weapons. The true battle had not been lost. It had only changed. Dr. Emily Foster didn't sleep for 3 days. Every waking hour vanished into the research modules surrounding the containment habitats. Samples taken from Krell armor, scales, bone fragments, and tissues were transported through vacuum-sealed channels, protected by 3 layers of biosafety protocols. Humanity feared alien microbes, pathogens, parasites, but none of that frightened her as much as what she found inside the Krell themselves. Their biology wasn't simply alien. It was designed to change. Inside the med lab, Foster stared through a holographic microscope as the Krell's blood sample writhed like molten chrome under magnification. The sample was active, not like cells, but like a system with intent. Again, she muttered to her assistant, Dr. Simverk, who adjusted the magnification. The alien's blood didn't just circulate oxygen like a terrestrial species. It rewired itself. The density increased, thickening and thinning as needed. Cells fused, separated, reconfigured like a liquid machine adapting in real time. Blood. Shouldn't do that, Verk whispered. It shouldn't, Foster agreed, unless it has a purpose we don't understand. On a monitor, charts updated automatically. Pressure statistics, molecular clustering, crystalline protein reconstitution. The graph showed a pattern that chilled Foster. The Krell weren't dying because they were weak. They were dying because they were designed for a different battlefield, the adaptive genome. Foster pulled up deeper scans of Krell bone structure. What once appeared as hollow, bird-like bones now look more complex. Cross lattices of metallic cartilage ready to strengthen under the right conditions. They were not fragile. They were unfinished. As the data compiled, Foster whispered what the evidence demanded. They aren't fully developed on their home world. Dr. Verk frowned. What do you mean? She isolated a sequence in the Krell's DNA, a dormant string of instructions that activated under stress, biological stress, energy deprivation, or external pressure. They're designed to evolve after conquest, Foster explained. They mature on enemy worlds. Their bodies adapt to new gravity, new atmospheres, new threats. They don't conquer because they're strong. They conquer because conquest is how they become stronger. Verk's eyes widened. So, had they survived long enough here, they would have changed, Foster confirmed. Earth wouldn't have crushed them forever. It would have forged them. Verk looked horrified, meaning if they recover, they could become something Earth has never seen. Something built for high gravity, dense atmosphere. Something stronger than anything they've evolved into before. The implications hit Foster like a blow. The Krell weren't apex predators on weaker worlds. They were larvae compared to what they could become on stronger ones. The hidden cost of mercy. Foster immediately sent a secure request to the Coalition Science Directorate. Top-level clearance only. Within minutes, the projector flickered to life, displaying Madame Linway, General Harrow, and Colonel Webb. Foster didn't waste a second. She streamed the data, model projections, and projected evolution curves for the Krell under gravity-controlled rehabilitation. They won't just survive, they'll adapt, Foster said. If they live long enough, they become a new species. One evolved under Earth's pressure. One no human weapon has ever been designed to fight. Harrow's reaction was instant. Then we kill them now. No, Foster snapped. If we kill them, the Empire retaliates. If we keep them alive without research, we face monsters later. The only safe path is controlled adaptation. We need to manage their evolution, not prevent it. Wei leaned forward, voice low. You're suggesting we accelerate their evolution under our terms. Precisely, Foster replied. We engineer the conditions of their growth. We control what kind of warriors they become. Webb stepped into view. You're talking about manipulating a warrior species to create something new, something we hope we can negotiate with. Foster stared straight through the screen. We're not just keeping prisoners. We're creating diplomats, leaders, a version of the Krell who can survive on our world without wanting to destroy it. Harrow slammed his fist into the table. And if they betray us the moment they evolve? Foster's answer was cold. Then we will have designed a weapon that destroys them. The silence that followed was long and heavy. Madame Wei finally spoke. Proceed, but the risks are yours to carry. The war leader learns the truth. Hours later, Foster returned to Thexcal's chamber. He sensed her tension immediately. You have discovered something. Foster didn't deny it. Your soldiers are changing. You will change too. The Krell war leader's eyes brightened. Not with gratitude, but triumph. Then we will stand. We will fight. Foster responded, not with fear, but with a blade of truth. You will stand because we allow you to, and your evolution will follow our rules. You will survive because we help you. That means you will owe us. Thexcal stared, silent. His mandible flexed with conflict. Foster continued quietly. You won't be conquerors anymore. You will be something new, something built on Earth. And no species destroys the world that shapes it. For the first time, Thexcal's pride faltered, not from weakness, but from realization. If the Krell were to rise again, Earth would be their cradle, not their trophy. Above the blue horizon, the Krell fleet hung like predatory moons, 32 colossal carriers forming a dark crown around Earth. They remained motionless, silent, patient. A fleet program for conquest waiting for a single signal. Confirmation of planetary subjugation. Their doctrine forbade orbital devastation of a target meant for colonization. Victory had to be earned on the ground. But victory had not come, and Earth's communications were broken by design. For 6 days straight, the fleet received nothing but scrambled fragments of data, carefully engineered static, false encryption errors, fabricated interference from Earth's magnetosphere, a lie wrapped in scientific plausibility. In orbit, the Krell command ship Vraction pulsed red through its navigation rings. Fleet Overseer Marzuro, second in rank to Thexcal, watched Earth through biosensors strapped into his flesh grafted into his nervous system. When he spoke, his jaw clicked with violence sharpened by growing doubt. "Tara, why do you not answer?" No reply came. He signaled to the comm specialists. "Restore signal. I do not accept silence from a battlefield." The technicians interfaced with crystalline consoles. Waves of spectral code cascaded across screens. The fleet tried again, and again, and again. Still nothing. One of the technicians finally bowed his head. No signs of battle transmissions. No subjugation orders. No life sign reports from our ground forces. Zero froze. No reports. No victory. No defeat. Just nothing. He slammed a claw against the console, sending a cascade of sparks. A warrior could accept defeat. What they could not accept was uncertainty. Our ground forces are elite shot battalions. They do not fall silent. Silence meant disgrace. Silence meant refusal. Silence meant something was wrong beyond logic. Earth's calculated lies. On the ground below, in a fortified communications bunker in Colorado, Colonel Webb and his team watched coded transmissions bleed across monitors. Lieutenant Martinez monitored the fabricated digital noise being sent back to the fleet. It had to look real. Too flawed for deception, too precise to be incompetence. Martinez winced as she intercepted another fleet attempt to break through their errors. "They're pushing harder," she said. "If they crack our fake interference, this entire strategy collapses." Webb responded without looking up. "So, don't let them crack it." She shot him a weary glare. "We're using reverse-engineered alien tech with guesswork. I can't guarantee anything." Foster entered the bunker, exhaustion carved into her face. "We have another problem," she said. "A Krell soldier just underwent cellular reinforcement earlier than we predicted. Their adaptation is accelerating." Webb muttered under his breath. "The fleet is getting suspicious, and the prisoners are adapting faster than expected. Perfect timing." Martinez shook her head at the growing calm's tension. "It's only a matter of time before the fleet assumes one logical conclusion." Webb finished the sentence for her. "That their ground forces are being massacred." Foster swallowed. "If they think that, orbital ethics no longer apply. They'll fire." The fleet's question. Back in orbit, Fleet Overseer Zero reached a decision. His voice cracked through the darkness of the command deck. Broadcast a planetary ultimatum. No encryption. No translation barriers. The technicians obeyed. Earth's satellites detected the signal instantly. It was raw, unfiltered, unaltered, and directed at every device capable of decoding electromagnetic data. The voice of Mars Zero filled screens, loudspeakers, broadcast channels, even abandoned radio bands. The message was simple and horrifying. "Humans, return our warriors, or we will cleanse a world of you." No demand for surrender. No call for negotiation. Just reclaim or annihilation. The words echoed across cities, military bases, media networks. An unintentional global reveal. Earth had never planned to tell the public about the Krell's helpless state so soon. Screens across the planet erupted with the alien threat. The world finally understood two things. 1. The invaders still believed themselves undefeated. 2. And Earth had the one advantage holding the galaxy hostage. Their soldiers. The vote that can't stay hidden. Emergency sirens blared through the bunker. Webb cursed under his breath. This is exactly what we avoided. Now the world knows we're holding their soldiers. Foster paled. People will panic. Some will want to release them to avoid war. Others will demand we use them as hostages. Martinez stared at the ultimatum, replaying across the monitors. "They're threatening planetary genocide if we don't return the Krell." Webb straightened, voice edged with steel. "We're not returning anything, not until we understand how to control their evolution." Foster looked troubled. "But if we don't answer, they'll fire. And if we answer, we admit what we're doing." Martinez's hands trembled. "If we reply, we'll need to lie again. But this time, they'll be listening for weakness, for fear, for truth." Webb's expression darkened. "Then we send them a truth they can't challenge." The message. Minutes later, Webb stood in front of a live Human to Krell broadcast channel. The translator crystals glowed, their energy rings humming. He spoke slowly, choosing every syllable with surgical precision. Krell fleet, your forces are alive. He waited. The channel clicked, Zero listening. Webb continued. But Earth does not return prisoners. Not to conquerors. Not to anyone. Silence. Then Webb delivered the final blow. If you want them back, you come here and negotiate. His tone hardened. Not as overlords. As equals. A long, deadly pause followed. In orbit, the Krell fleet did not fire, but they did not disconnect. They were listening. And, for the first time, they were uncertain. 3 days. That's all it took for humanity's unity to collapse. The moment Colonel Webb's message reached every screen on Earth. If you want them back, you come here and negotiate as equals. The world split into factions sharper than any enemy weapon. In Washington, Berlin, Beijing, and Lagos, crowds filled streets chanting, shouting, demanding action. Some held banners reading, "Send them home." Others held signs drenched in blood-red paint, saying, "Finish them." News feeds raged. Hostage diplomacy. Earth playing with fire? Militaries divided. Should we negotiate with the Krell? World extremist group emerges. Humanity first. The new faction spread quicker than any protest movement, drawing from soldiers, survivalists, nationalists, even terrified civilians. They rejected mercy, rejected negotiation, rejected the idea that aliens deserved rights on Earth. Their message was brutal and viral. Before they adapt, we kill them all. Fear had built a weapon far more volatile than the Krell fleet. The sabotage threat. At the Colorado containment site, Webb's boots hit the floor hard as alarms flared. He rushed toward the rotating gravity chambers where the Krell were being stabilized. Dr. Foster was already inside the control room, voice tight with panic. "They're breaching the perimeter," she shouted. "Humanity First militants, at least 60 armed. They're trying to storm the facility." Martinez glanced at the security feeds. "They're not here to free the Krell. They're here to kill them." Webb knew exactly why. If the Krell died now, the fleet could justify orbital retaliation. Humanity First wasn't ignorant. They were reckless enough to start a genocide to keep one from happening. Foster's voice shook as she monitored the Krell life support systems. If they break through, they won't just kill the prisoners. They'll doom all of us. Webb loaded his weapon, a compact electromagnetic rifle that could pierce reinforced alloy. Then we're stopping them. Outside, explosions shook the compound's outer wall. Humanity's new enemy wasn't alien. It was human panic. The war leader watches. In his low-gravity chamber, Thex Cal felt the vibrations through the reinforced floor. He sensed conflict, not recognition of battle, but the rhythm and timbre of war. Even restrained, his warrior mind mapped the chaos. A human guard rushed in, panic in his voice. "Just stay down, alien. Don't do anything stupid." Thex Cal's lips curled. Stupid, like attacking one's own species. The guard stiffened. The humor felt poisonous. Another boom shook dust from the ceiling. The support braces around Thex Cal rattled with stress. His blood thickened instinctively, muscles pulling against gravity. Evolution demanded to fight. Earth's physics forbade it. He lay still, seething. "If they kill US, your world burns." The guard didn't answer. They both knew it was true. The attack. Webb's unit reached the inner corridor just as militants breached a secondary door using stolen demolition charges. Gunfire echoed through the compound, ricocheting against armored glass. These weren't rioters. They were professionals. Former soldiers, mercenaries, private security. They understood tactics. They moved like people whose fear had become a mission. One militant shouted through a megaphone, "We refuse their existence. We finish this now. Humanity first." Shots rang out. Shattered concrete filled the hall like dust storms. Webb's voice roared over chaos. "Hold the line. If they reach the Krell chambers, Earth is finished." Martinez reloaded while barking orders into comms, calling in emergency reinforcements. "We need immediate backup. Non-lethal priority. We can't afford casualties that escalate this." Foster ducked behind a support column. They're not afraid of dying. They think killing the Krell is saving the world. Webb grimly returned fire. Then they're just another army trying to conquer what they don't understand. The choice at the core. As bullets and rail charges streaked through the air, Foster's console displayed sudden peaks on all biological monitors. The Krell were reacting, every one of them. Their bodies, though paralyzed, sensed war. Adrenaline surged. Muscles contracted. Evolution accelerated. Thexcal gasped, the translation rig crackling to life. If we rise too soon, your people die. Foster stared at him through the observation glass. And if you die now, your fleet kills us all. Thexcal breathed in shallow agony, understanding the balance at last. Then you must choose. His voice was a whisper turned to thunder by the translator. Protect U.S. or destroy U.S. The line between invader and hostage had shattered. Humanity didn't have to decide if the Krell deserved mercy. They had to decide if they deserved survival. Humanity's answer. Security teams finally forced humanity first back through the breach. Tear gas flooded the corridors. Non-lethal drones pinned militants to the ground. Reinforcements arrived from the National Guard. Webb signaled a ceasefire as the last gun fell silent. Foster faced the observation window again. Thexcal lay motionless, but his eyes were wide, burning with new understanding. In that moment, humans weren't conquerors, prisoners, or scientists. They were the only thing standing between the Krell and extinction. An extinction of one species would doom the other. Webb spoke, not to Foster, not to the guards, but to the chamber beyond the glass. War leader Thexcal, you live because we defend you. Remember that. The alien's voice rasped through the translator. I will. Not as a promise. Not as gratitude. As debt. White medium star epilogue, short bonus ending. 3 weeks later, the first formal diplomatic envoy from the Krell fleet stepped onto Earth, within a controlled neutral zone. They arrived not as conquerors, but as representatives bound by survival. Earth didn't win through weapons. The Krell didn't win through strength. Both species live because of one truth. Mercy, when enforced, becomes power. Gravity had been the first battlefield. Honor became the second, and the galaxy was watching.